Stanford board nixes drug rehab home. Andes explores property tax exemptions and raises cemetery prices. A Major League Baseball legend pitches for Fleischmann's Mac. These are just some headlines this week. Welcome to CatskillsAir. I'm Jonas Finkel, subbing for Jessica Murphy this week. Joining me now is Matt Avitable, editor and publisher of the Mountain Eagle and Catskills Chronicle. Welcome, Matt.
Thanks for having me.
Let's get straight to the news, Matt. The Stanford Village Board voted down a proposed special use permit for a drug rehab home. Matt, what's their reasoning?
We've talked about this several times, and ultimately it seems like there might be a resolution as the planning board voted at a brief June 15th meeting to deny the application. This follows a public hearing on March 11th in which there was a standing room only crowd and continued this into April. Several people at the hearing said that they supported help for those with addiction, but ultimately questioned the location and whether there could be clinical staffing here for this project. The planning board had 60 days from the close of the April hearing to make a decision, and ultimately it was denied based on the standards for a special use permit under Section A, which question if the proposed development is compatible with nearby properties and will not discourage the appropriate development and use of adjacent properties or substantially impair their values, as well as several others. Big story on the cover of this week's paper.
Also, the village board gave the go-ahead to charge a $40 fee per water meter.
For the average resident, they're not going to see an increase, but for new meters, there's going to be a $40 charge to cover the cost of a capital project. This is going to pay for part of the loan to make repairs at the water treatment plant and allow the village to use normal water rates for regular operation and maintenance of the facility.
More Andes senior citizens may get a cut in property taxes, while the cemetery prices will increase, both topics of the June Town Board meeting.
It might balance out as we're going to see an increase in the property tax exemption. The hope here is that the ceiling that people have to make for an exemption for property taxes will increase. On the other hand, though, there's going to be an increase for cemetery services. We're going to see rates go to $850 for a plot purchase, $1,000 for a grave opening, and $400 for cremation opening. These are to meet New York State standards and are already in line with the prices already adopted at the main cemetery across the street from the post office.
And after a moment of silence to remember Village Justice Jim Picozzi, who passed away last month, the Hancock Board listened to public comments on lawns, signs, and the Presbyterian Church. A village ordinance fines homeowners $500 if their lawn isn't mowed within 3 days of a violation notice being received. The same rules apply to snow removal. In the winter, 19 letters went out recently. This rule has raised some villagers' hackles. They claim this is not enough time to get their lawns mowed. Questions were also raised about the 5 no parking signs along 185 feet of Main Street. The complainant said that it seems excessive, expensive, and is as if officials were preventing folks from shopping. Tax-exempt status of the former Hancock Presbyterian Church was also discussed, then tabled. The board addressed several other issues. You can get the full story in the online paper at hancockherald.com. Margaretville gets $1.5 million to replace its aging water tank and system.
Some good news for the village. They will receive that $1.5 million. It's a combination of grant and low-cost financing. It's going to replace the aged storage tank with a new 80,000-gallon tank. It's going to help replace a series of water meters, and it will provide for upgrades to the water system telemetry and control system, and the funding will come part of the New York State Clean Drinking Water State Revolving Funds and Water Infrastructure Improvement Grants.
Harpersfield Town Board backtracked on a resolution they passed last month and revised it. Matt, explain the Mountaintop Airfield site escrow decision.
There's a bit of a reversal here as the town board rescinded the resolution they made last month and replaced it with a revised one during their June 10th meeting. They agreed to establish an escrow account for a site plan amendment for that airfield and set the amount of the escrow at $20,000 based on past practice. The attorney for the airfield asked for it to be reduced. The supervisor said that the taxpayer should not have to pay for the application, and ultimately board members decided to go along with that decision. This followed an earlier discussion to set the escrow amount at $7,500 and add it to the escrow as it falls below a certain level. It must be replenished within 5 days. The supervisor is authorized to execute the revised escrow agreement to enable the retention of professional consultants to provide legal counsel.
Students, teachers, and residents come out to plea with the Delaware Academy Board of Education. What are the changes the board wants, and why are others against those revisions, Matt?
There's a bit of controversy as the Delaware Academy Board met. Adjustments at the June 22nd meeting would have separated the orchestra, the band, and the chorus into distinct groups rather than having them practice as a single ensemble. Instead, the groups would come together to practice a few times prior to concerts. The proposal for the music department was intended to address current constraints on students' ability to choose ensembles and to level out class sizes. The rehearsals are intended to refine the music. According to the head of the Student Senate, more time is needed for the finer parts of some of these concerts. The superintendent explained that the counseling department takes in the interests, the needs, and the opportunities of all students. Sometimes the changes look good, but ultimately don't always come to light, he said, and acknowledged the feedback and assured the district that the discussion has been tabled to focus on wrapping up the current school year.
There's a new website designed to help locals as well as visitors connect with area farmers. Matt, describe Delaware Bounty Research Site.
This is a project that Cornell Cooperative Extension is working on. CCE has done a lot to help out local farmers and local business, and here they're launching Delaware Bounty, which is a searchable website that's going to connect consumers with these local food producers. If anyone would like to check out DelawareBounty.org, it expands on the success of the local Delaware Bounty local food map. It provides an easy-to-use desktop and mobile platform to track a number of producer profiles, search by product, location, production certification types, and more about the people growing our local food.
And Fleischmann's Mountain Athletic Club had one up on the other teams last week. Red Sox pitching legend Bill Lee was at the mound.
I don't want to say that they cheated, but they sure had an advantage. Many of our viewers are going to remember Bill Lee from his time on the Red Sox and the Expos. I know that John's going to be talking a lot more about Spaceman Bill Lee. I actually met him in Cooperstown. I'm glad he made it back to the area, and it made for a great game.
Yep, John will have more on the Spaceman later in the broadcast. Now, a look at the local legal news. A former Delaware County Sheriff deputy was sentenced following his guilty plea last week in Oneonta Town Court. Timothy W. Tryon of Roxbury was convicted of 3 misdemeanor counts, fined $500, and ordered to pay $87.88 in restitution. He was given a 1-year conditional discharge. This means Tryon must follow court conditions and avoid further legal trouble for at least a year. In March, New York State Police arrested Tryon after investigating a series of thefts at the Oneonta Walmart. They found that he left the store 4 times without paying for items, mostly groceries, that totaled more than $500. Tryon had been suspended from duty at the time. In January 2025, he was named Employee of the Quarter. The Claryville man who was caught trespassing in Andes pleaded guilty last week and will be sentenced by the end of the month. He's expected to be sent to jail. Matt, refresh us on what he did and what his sentence looks like.
Correct. Alex Scrivani, 41 of Claryville, pleaded guilty to criminal mischief in the 4th degree, Class A misdemeanor, in Delaware County Court on June 16th. The case was adjourned until June 30th for sentencing. It looks like the defendant will likely be sentenced to 120 days in jail to be followed by a 1-year conditional discharge. The defendant was remanded to the Delaware County Correctional Facility. All this stems from an incident in May. While on routine patrol, a sheriff's deputy was flagged down by multiple individuals reporting a male that was allegedly pulling on door handles of multiple residences and going into a local business and acting strangely. He saw this individual on Route 28, made contact. The individual identified himself as Alex Scrivani. He asked if he needed help on a ride, and Scrivani said yes. It wound up being a longer investigation, and it turned out that Scrivani went into a building at that location, damaged a screen door during the process.
And a Stanford man was sentenced to a year in jail for stealing someone else's tools, Matt.
Eric Grossman, aged 47, appeared in town of Harpersfield Court earlier this month and pleaded guilty to one count of criminal possession of stolen property in the fifth degree and one count of conspiracy in the fifth degree. Both are Class A misdemeanors. And this stems from an August 2025 incident where state police received a report of stolen property, more specifically tools at a residence at Wood Road in Jefferson. And upon further detailed investigation by police, it was determined that the stolen tools had been previously moved from a house located on State Highway 10 in Harpersfield, and Rossman admitted that he did not originally know that the tools were stolen. He had put his initials on many of them. Once he was aware they were stolen, he and other co-defendants had the stolen tools moved to Wood Road to evade law enforcement.
A Davenport man was arrested at a traffic stop, and this one was a bit different. The driver wasn't the one arrested.
This comes from a June 7th incident. While on patrol in the Davenport area, the sheriff's deputies observed a vehicle being operated in the dark with no operable lights. Upon conducting a traffic stop, deputies identified the operator as a 16-year-old juvenile operating with a permit, and the passenger in the vehicle was a 32-year-old of Davenport, Skylar Smith. An investigation showed that Smith, who was actively on probation, was in an intoxicated condition and was in possession of an open container. Probation officers were contacted and responded to assist the deputies, and upon investigation, Smith was arrested and was charged with one count each of endangering the welfare of a child and criminal possession of a controlled substance in the seventh degree. Both are Class A misdemeanors.
Roxbury and Grand Gorge are going through a bit of a renaissance. Matt, tell us about Caroline Bennett's Looking Back, Looking Ahead feature.
Caroline got some really good photos of Main Street. We are familiar with the buildings in Grand Gorge and Roxbury that are going to be repaired, including its very unique post office. Now, both of the hamlets in the town of Roxbury have been beneficiaries of this Downtown Revitalization or DRI funding. And with that, Carolyn goes through some of the changes that have already taken place, some that are planned, and the help and work of the town government and the MARC project.
School's out and the celebrations are on. SUNY Delhi is expanding a program that helps students graduate on time. Matt, what is ASAP ACE?
We're dealing with the Advanced Success in Associate Pathways, or ASAP program, which supports students pursuing associate degrees, and the Advancing Completion Through Engagement, or ACE program, which supports baccalaureate students. Eligible students have access to a wide array of educational resources to support them and help them overcome barriers that might prevent them from obtaining the degree. The hope is that with the expansion here, more than 300 students at SUNY Delhi will receive these important resources that will enable them to graduate.
Local Main Streets are also celebrating. Fleischmann saw the opening of a new shop, formally. Matt, what's the excitement here?
Absolutely. We have this great report about another business coming to Fleischmann's. The antique shop is going to open up a lot of momentum on Main Street as it shows a number of vintage products. We have the photos from the grand opening sent to us by Harold Kuhn, and a great job by all involved.
Townfolk gathered to celebrate the opening of the hidden bookshop tucked behind Book Village on Main Street in Hobart. There's a new coffee shop too, though, right, Matt?
Taking the old Bull and Garland, we now have the hidden bookshop, which is going to expand Hobart's options and provide another anchor to the Book Village.
A legend in these parts has gone from burgers to blueberries. And now he's cooking up barbecue sauce in North Courtright. Reporter Liz Page shines a light on Russ Betts.
We all know Russ in these parts, and now he's providing Rusty Hill barbecue sauce, which is quite spicy. But I hear that it's good. There's some photos of him with the cooking pots. He's run his own successful blueberry farm for a long time and winery, and now he decided he's going to try his hand at barbecue sauce. It looks really good. He goes through the process with Liz of how he makes it. I'm looking forward to trying it.
Barbecue. Speaking of which, the Seasoned Social Club hosted a chicken and bake sale over the weekend in Margaretville. Nice photo. Reporter Lorcan Otway traveled back in time with several grads for a Fleischmann school reunion. What did he discover, Matt?
He discovered a window into a world that was, talking about how things were different, how some things have stayed the same. Talking with these grads who came together, it was a great way to take a look at what Fleischmann's was like and what life in the northern Catskills was like in the past.
For more on these and other articles, pick up the Mountain Eagle or Catskills Chronicle. But Matt, before you go, how about a hint on next week's paper?
We have a lot. We have the results of the primaries that happened in the area, who's going to be running for Congress. We're going to see another cycle of the Delaware County Board of Supervisors meeting, and hopefully we'll have some water updates for Stamford and Margaretville.
Thanks for keeping us all up to date, Matt. We'll see you next week. And now it's time to talk sports. Here's John. He's off with the Spaceman.
To baseball fans, he was known as the Spaceman, a Major League Baseball pitcher for 14 seasons, 10 seasons with the Boston Red Sox. Bill Lee became a beloved baseball icon, as much for his eccentric, free-spirited personality, his unconventional views, and his slow, high-arching Euphosh pitch, which baseball fans often referred to as a space ball. As for his feats on the baseball diamond, that's not to say Bill Lee wasn't a baseball star. The left-handed pitching ace won 119 games over his career, amassing 17 wins in 3 successive seasons. Last week, Bill Lee gave local vintage baseball players from the Fleischman's Mountain Athletic Club and their fans a thrill, joining the MAC to pitch in a tournament that took place at the Beaver Valley Campgrounds in Milford, New York. From the time he was a tadpole, baseball has been a central focus in Bill Lee's life. Little League, Sandlot, high school, collegiate, minor leagues, major leagues, and a multitude of professional, amateur, and semi-pro games from Venezuela to Canada pack his resume. When it comes to baseball, Bill Lee has done it all. At 79 years of age, it might surprise most to learn Bill Lee is still pitching. That's especially the case after the ageless moundsman has suffered 3 heart attacks, collapsed on the ball field, wears an elaborate cardiac device, and has had surgery implanting stents. But for the Spaceman, baseball is as nourishing as the very air he breathes. All those years in the majors taught Bill Lee the value of mixing his pitches and hitting his spots. You might say the Spaceman has mastered the value of slow, slower, and Euphosh slowest when it comes to delivering a baseball to home plate. To this day, Bill Lee is the definition of a crafty lefty, a guy who can move the baseball in and out, up and down, and paint the corners. According to the vintage pitching ace, Lee claims he keeps his pitching hand and long fingers pitch ready by continually gripping a hard rock-like object the Spaceman insists is dinosaur poop. Lee would still dazzle on the mound for the MAC, going 6 up and 6 down over his first 2 innings on the hill. The likable former major leaguer worked the first 4 innings, allowing 2 runs in the MAC's 14-11 loss. And who says pitchers can't hit? The Spaceman batted for himself before the designated hitter over much of his major league career. At 79, Bill Lee still wields a potent stick, going 3 for 4 in the batter's box during the contests. That's our local sports report for this week.
Thanks, John. The guy's still got game. Hit the trails with the Catskills Mountain Club for a breath of high peak fresh air before the holiday fireworks. The club climbs Fir, Big Indian, Eagle, and Balsam Mountains on Saturday, July 4th. Then on Sunday, you can scale Westkill Mountain Traverse. If you're up for a weekday trek, then Wednesday, July 8th, hike along Dry Brook Ridge via German Hollow. For more July hikes, visit the club's website or check this week's Catskills Chronicle. Now, let's see what Elizabeth has in arts and entertainment.
Hello everybody, welcome to this week's Focus on the Arts News Spot. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Lots to get to. Sydney Memorial Public Library. We'll be having multidisciplinarian artist Mark Strodel. He is exhibit internationally. He's an incredible artist of many different genres within the creative community. His watercolors are profound and have powerful narratives. The exhibit is 12 Freedoms of Democracy. It opens with a reception July 2nd, 3 to 5, and runs till July 24th. Get out there and help support Mark Strodel. He has worked on this very hard. 12 Freedoms of Democracy. Foothills Performing Arts Center. They will be having many events coming up. July 11th, Crystal Ship, a tribute to the Doors. This should be a wonderful event to bring family to, bring your young people to, introduce them to the incredible Doors music. Also, guitar lessons with Wyatt Ambrose runs till August 19th. You want to check that out. The Franklin Stage Company celebrates its 30th anniversary with classic Shakespeare, a comedy filled with wit, desire, and all of the emotions only Shakespeare could bring out that makes it still relevant today. Much Ado About Nothing. It opens July 3rd, runs to the 19th. The Great Chapel Hall will be filled with amazing work by these performers, volunteers who help make it happen. Seats are reserved, so you want to make sure you get a ticket, call and reserve a space. Family and kin, go watch a Shakespeare play in 2026. Athens Cultural Center in Athens is having an incredible exhibit called Animal Bodies and Conversation. It runs June 5th to August 16th. The curator is Yasmin Siddiqui. The artists will be Ilana Herzog, Jean Shen, Brigitte Veradi. A wonderful exhibit displaying and describing the connection between artists and the world we see, especially the animals, how they connect to us. All these wonderful events that help support our community, support our artists, get out there and help do that every day. Have a wonderful week, a wonderful weekend, exciting times coming up. Thank you for watching. See you next time on Focus on the Arts.
Thanks, Elizabeth. And we all will be out for the Margaretville Field Days this weekend. Food, games, rides, and of course, fireworks. Let it shine, let it pour. Which will it be? Let's see what our upcoming week's weather looks like.
Hi-de-ho, friends and neighbors. It's Lori with CatskillsAir, bringing you your weekly weather update for the beautiful, pristine, still highly wacky and unpredictable weather Catskill Mountain region. And wow, we had a rather spectacular weekend for the last week of June, and it looks like things are going to heat up and get very hot and humid for the week ahead before the holiday weekend. So let's give it a go and check out what's happening with our weekly weather update for the Catskill Mountain region. On Monday, we have mostly sunny skies with a few afternoon clouds, temps in the low 80s, winds light and variable. Overnight, we have partly cloudy skies with temps dipping back to the low 60s, winds light and variable. On Tuesday, we have partly cloudy skies in the mornings with increasing clouds for the afternoon hours. Stray showers and thunderstorms are a possibility in some areas with gusty winds. We could get some heavy downpours in some areas. Very hot and humid, temperatures in the upper 80s, winds gusting out of the west-southwest at 10 to 15. Overnight, we'll have a few passing clouds with those showers and thunderstorms decreasing. Temps are going to dip back to the low 70s, winds out of the west-southwest at 5 to 10. On Wednesday, we have partly cloudy skies, very hazy, hot and humid. Temps are going to be in the low 90s with winds out of the west-northwest at 10 to 15. Overnight, we have mostly clear skies. Temps are going to only fall back to the low 70s, winds out of the west-northwest at 5 to 10. On Thursday, we have mostly sunny skies, very hot and humid. Temperatures in the low to mid 90s, winds out of the west-northwest at 10 to 15. Overnight, we have mostly clear skies. The temps only dropping back to the low 70s, winds out of the west-northwest at 5 to 10. And on Friday, we have partly cloudy skies, followed by increasing clouds for the afternoon with scattered showers and thunderstorms. Hot, humid, and breezy. Temps in the low 90s. Winds gusting out of the west-northwest at 10 to 15. And overnight, we have partly cloudy skies. Temps dipping back to the mid to upper 60s. Winds out of the west-northwest at 5 to 10. As I bid you farewell, remember that weather and temperature changes on a dime, especially in the beautiful Cats. Be sure to join me for your holiday weekend weather update, because I have a feeling it's going to cool down, but I see lots of sunshine ahead. So be sure to join me from somewhere in the Cats.
That's it for CatskillsAir News. If you see something, let us know. I'm Jonas Finkel, and Jessica Murphy returns next week. And as we sign out, here's a look at last year's 4th of July fun at Margaretville Field Days and Fireworks.